fucking sick is this? By
What
the
is
way,
that?
I'll just try to get off. Joe, you didn't even tell me
A
what
potato.
Yeah. How sick is that?
Yeah, one of my mates has got it. Matt.
Inspirational.
Matt.
I'm a lock. Fucking lock, I'll tell you that much.
Bit of chaos tonight to start.
Why?
True, Dan?
Some of us arrived too late.
Yeah, who was that this week?
He had to
Fuck, I was
finish
munching, I'll
chips.
tell you that much.
It wasn't Dan, which is amazing.
was-
It was actually Jules, who's usually in half hour early.
Yeah, it's actually true. I'm chaotic at the moment. I was eating chips, beer battered chips with this sriracha sauce and mayo mixed together. The combination is off chops. So if anyone gets around it, let me know what you think. But I think I might be onto something here.
Maybe on the Instagram, do a little masterclass, cooking masterclass, Jules.
Like the track.
How's
Get it going, like a recipe a week.
I've heard some things, Paisley.
How's Jules talking
heard some
about
things.
a sriracha mayo combo like he's the one that invented it?
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'll give no credit to this side ever. I'll give no respect to this side. John Overrook, honorary Blues brother, Will Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Paul Sebastiani, welcome back to the show, mate.
This one game is a build-up of, a year's worth of work.
That's if you think of his performance.
And I gave my opinion.
It's an opinion-based podcast, fair enough. Welcome, everyone, to episode 105 of the Almost Blues Brothers podcast, brought to you by the Blue Broad Podcast Network and YouTube channel, and proudly sponsored by Vortep, as we do every week.
Here we go.
Got the hoodie. Dan's got the black hoodie and the Piota with the Piota combo. Jules has got the crew neck tonight. Very good. If you haven't, visit vortep.com.au. Almost Blues Brothers at the checkout gets you 10% off all your Vortep gear. It's good shit. Go and get it. I don't know. There's nothing else I can say. It's good stuff.
For businesses, get around it. I highly recommend it.
It actually gets comfier the more you actually wear it.
True. That is true. Now, everyone that is with us tonight, thank you for joining. It's been a big night on Blue Broad already. Pommy and Tez have ripped through the player ratings and the Blue Broad show, and we've got a couple of Mondays left. Well, actually, I think this is our last Monday, and then we're back on Sunday nights, boys, which is our night usually. But due to the fixturing recently, we've had to shift to Mondays. But from next week, we'll be back Sunday nights as per for the final series. And this time last year, boys, we're saying, welcome to episode fucking whatever it was, 70 something. And Blues have missed finals, and we're heartbroken. We lost the last round, but we got more games ahead of us, man.
4 more, I think. I heard.
Absolutely. Before we get into it, if you are new, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. If you haven't already, like and subscribe right now to the Blue Broad YouTube channel and like this video. Smash the like button. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, not live, and it's a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday, follow us on our Spotify page. Leave us a 5-star review. It helps us immensely, especially coming into finals. We want to get as much content out as possible. And if you haven't, follow us on Instagram, at Almost Blues Brothers, Twitter, at Almost Blues Bros. And that is it. That's it for the formalities. Before we get into the footy, boys, how was the weekend? Jules, start with you. Big life event.
I've had bigger, to be honest, but
You actually have. You actually have a lot bigger.
pretty big events in my life, Joe, but I don't know how to rank it. But yeah, Friday night, watched the movie, went to the cinema. If you haven't done so already, go watch Sounds of Freedom.
Oh, is that good, Jules?
Go watch it. Very good film, based on a true story. It was a great movie. Saturday, moved out of the house, which is what Joe was referring to. And then obviously on Sunday, went to the footy and enjoyed it with my mates.
Jules,
Dan,
Talk to me.
how happy is your dad that you're out of the house?
Mate, to be honest with you, I reckon he's sad. I'm doing the pod from home. I had to collect a few more things. So I thought, you know what? Obviously, make sure I've got everything and set everything up before we actually obviously move off. later tonight. But nah, he's shattered, to be honest. Why wouldn't he be?
I reckon Jules is the only one that's wrapped, to be fair, and his misses. But yeah, you'll have a new change of scenery next week, Jules, apparently, with a new room, new setup. So I'm intrigued to see what you set up in the background, because you've had probably the best setup of the three of us with your dad's plethora of memorabilia that he's collected over the years.
I might be able to steal the Cuda. Have you know the blue one where he's painted in blue? You've seen
What
that
about the
one?
hand?
He's
What
got
about
the hand too,
He's
but
got the hand?
I'm liking the blue one in the background. I reckon it'd be nice in the second
Right.
bedroom.
Let's see how we go. Dan, I'd ask how your weekend was, but I was with you.
You spent 90% of it with me.
Yeah, probably too long.
Too long? Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of time with me. You can ask Lauren that, eh? She gets sick of it as well. No, we had a good weekend. Joe and I hit the town, didn't we, Joe? In a big way.
Yeah, we did. Well,
Yeah,
we did.
let's just say
It
our
was
legs
good.
are
It was a good
sore.
Saturday. My left hip is still. This is how I know I'm getting a bit older. My left hip is shot, just from dancing for like 6
I think I
hours.
got-
So anyway,
I was saying to Lauren, I think I got plantar fasciitis from hitting the ground that much.
I believe that. I
From
believe it,
stomping.
boys. It wasn't the end to the season that we expected or that we wanted, and that's fair. But and we'll break it all down. There's a few things to talk about. Jules has got a nice little Casano's calcs tonight, just around some defensive accountability that might have been lacking in the last few weeks in particular. But you win 9 straight, and you get yourself into a position where you're locked into finals going into the last round, so you don't have to worry about the result. And that is the reality at the end of the day, is that we can, after tonight and after we review this, we can reset as a club, they can reload, and they can relaunch. And that's what they got to do. Because in 2 weeks' time, on a Friday night, under Friday night lights at the MCG against the Sydney Swans, who are a big club and a big Melbourne club too for an interstater, there's no bigger stage, boys, than in 2 weeks' time. No one's going to remember the round 24 loss to GWS once we pants the Swans in 2 weeks' time. I can promise you that.
Well, it's set, isn't it? We've had a bit of luck in the last 24 hours. A couple of things have gone our way a little bit, so it's going to be a big one, that's for sure.
I think it was funny, boys, being there and us looking at the live ladder, seeing obviously that whole thing with the GWS obviously nearly taking the Saints position. How insane was that on percentage?
Yeah.
But I think the spectacle was Charlie, wasn't it? Win the Coleman again. Boys.
He's incredible.
Yeah, some atmosphere.
And we'll get to that. Hey?
Scintillating.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we'll get to a few highlights and some lowlights in a minute. But I guess if there's nothing else to be said, without any further ado,
let's get into it.
Match report, final scores from Marvel Stadium. Carlton 11-7, 73. The Giants 16-9, 105. Goal scorers for the Blues. Fisher, Durden, Hewitt, DeConning, Martin, Cottrell with 1 each. Owies with 2. Charlie Curnow with 3. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 goal kickers again, which is still extremely impressive to see week in, week out. The only injury on the night was Blake Acres. Caleb Marchbank replaced him in the third quarter, and there was a collective holding of the breath around the stadium, because up until that point, Blake Acres was probably BOG, to be fair, the way that he was going about it, especially his first quarter. And he's going to be integral to our finals campaign. And we did get news today, thankfully, that there is no fracture to the collarbone, no structural damage. As long as he gets through training later this week and into next week, he should be good to go for week 1. The injury report had nothing on it, boys. That's it. Only the long-termers and Jack Silvani. Zach Williams, not even Sam Philp now, because I think he's back playing. And Jack Silvani, the only two that...
He's playing, yeah.
The only two unavailable. Alex Murkov as well, obviously long-term. But everyone else is fit, firing, ready to go, week 1 of finals, and it is the best position that we could have asked to be in.
I think, guys, honestly, and I'm going to start with this, that if we as supporters are not immensely excited for what's coming in the fortnight's time, like we were prior to this GWS side, there's something wrong, and change your mindset. You should be absolutely buzzing. The GWS game, you could see, I think a quarter and a half of footy to get Charlie the Coleman, I think was the objective. And then I think you could see that it was, Voss even mentioned it in his presser that he was happy that Walsh got through. He was happy that Ches got through. He was happy that Harry got another game. He was mentioning about moving pieces around and trying new stuff like that. Obviously credit to GWS. They came out, they got their job done. But I think for us, we had 2 weeks time in mind. But guys, like I said, if us as supporters, if we're not itching for a fortnight's time, wake up and start buzzing. Don't worry about that GWS game and wake up and buzz.
Yeah, I think you got to sort of take 2 parts to the game. I think you got to take the part where it's the quarter and a bit, even the first 2 quarters of the game. Think about it in terms of, that's sort of our identity in terms of the way we want to move the ball and the defensive aspects of it. And then obviously the second half where I think someone did mention in the comments that we did just put the queue in the rack, essentially. Obviously you got the Acres coming off. You got the Harry in the ruck as well. You've got Kempy going down forward. So there's a lot of different things. Even Fisher obviously moving to the forward line as well. So there's a lot of structural things that we did do. And yeah, obviously it was just a one eye looking towards the first final, which is going to be a big one.
But you could say, you could even see the intent, what we saw there of the boys. That's not the work rate that we've been seeing for the last 9 weeks.
No,
clear as day to see. Yeah. If in last week's podcast, I did say that I would have wanted them to put foot on throat, but I think the Acres injury might have been a big alarm bell for obviously Voss and the coaches. I think that's where we saw them maybe pull back a little bit, in my opinion. But the reason why I do say that for us as supporters is because I saw fans walking off like we'd lost 11, 12 straight.
Go for it.
And you know what? I don't give a shit that it was a late night. I had work at 4 a.m. and I stayed.
It's true.
If we had won the
That's
game,
true.
if we had won the game, everyone would have stayed there. No issue. So what? Because we lose one game like that and people start jumping off. Wake up, honestly. It pissed me off.
I don't think
That's
it's
the
not.
one that pissed me off.
I don't think it's jumping off. I think it's more so, it's like, oh, well, what are we sticking around for? Well, you know what? In 2 weeks, when we're playing in an elimination final, I couldn't care less if we're 40 points down with 10 minutes to go. There's no walkout on these boys in 2 weeks. If I see a walkout in an elimination final, I will be that disappointed. It'd be beyond belief. But look, I don't want to be too negative. We've said what we need.
No, but it's hypocritical.
I'm with you, Dan.
Yeah. My perspective is, and I want to obviously have a bit of a, I agree with you, obviously, Paysan, but having a look at the first quarter a bit, I have no doubt in my mind that come Friday in a week or so, or Friday week, at 7:50, that atmosphere is going to be electric and it's going to be something different that we've never seen before from any side of the competition, let alone Carlton. Because it's going to be chockers. It's going to be chockers, that's for sure.
Yeah, but like I know we won't talk the negative, but like I said, straight away there was you can just see the critics. Like, how can you forget 9 weeks of probably the best football we've ever seen from this club in our era anyway? Like over the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, there was.
How does that happen?
Chat, There was a bit of chat.
Do you know what?
I'm sure it was around.
Special mention, though.
Just around how short some memories are. And Jimmy just made the point there. He left early because he was ready to jump on a few people bitching like it was 2018 again, which is, that's. But listen, we're not here to be negative. We've said what we need to say about that, and I think we're all on the same page. In 2 weeks, we don't want to see that. As a football club, as a supporter base, we want 95,000 strong there, and they've got it. We've got to get around these boys, bell to bell, bell to bell.
I've got a special mention.
Go.
To the bloke that was sitting level 1, hole 29, I don't know the guy's name. I don't know what he was on, to be honest with you. But he was that energetic. He was
Yeah.
like, if there was a bad call, I'm not joking. I reckon he would have been in what? Row L? Something like that.
Yeah.
He was down on the fence within 10
Yeah,
seconds.
yeah.
I saw
even.
him, Jules. I saw him neck. He had a full beer. I saw an umpire decision go against us. I saw him neck the beer and sprint down to the fence and like
He was
right
so
over.
different.
He was insane.
He
was
was
a man
on a
of the
different
best.
level.
Then
Hey,
he yelled at
that's
Joe
not
for.
the,
Then he yelled at Joe
not
for
the-
putting
not-
sauce on a pie.
He actually did.
literally.
That was
I got
hilarious.
yelled at by. Is he in the
That was
comments
best
here?
moment of that
Surely
game.
not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Blue.
It's
listen,
not.
Blue Bag. If that was you, if that was genuinely you, Blue Bagger, all night you brought the energy that 50,000 needed to bring. Seriously, and not that it has to be fueled by alcohol or whatever it is, but bring that in. Oh, it's not him. He's lying. I actually thought it was him.
29.
But bring that.
It is. Joe, it's Damien. They look 29. That was
Is it
us.
Damien?
That's him.
There you go.
That's
Beautiful.
He's inspirational, that guy. I tell you that much.
Bring Damien's energy in 2 weeks' time, and these boys cannot lose. That's all I'm going to say. Damien genuinely made the night.
We wanted to chairlift you on the field, Damien. That's how inspired we were.
When we were down and out, he was still up and about. The crowd went quiet, and Damien was running the aisles like he was running a
High-fiving
marathon.
people.
Just
Like
didn't
as if they
stop.
were best mates.
Yep. All right. That's Damien. There you go. Unbelievable. Where to next? So we spoke about Blake Acres, Jacob Wiedering. Now, there was a little bit of talk about it during the week. Not even during the week, just over the last 24 hours. And eye gouge on Toby Green. Anyone that would have thought, oh, yeah, that's a week, you got rocks in your head. Seriously, it's the first time all season that I can say the MRO looked at it for what it was and used some common sense. Just some common sense.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit nervous knowing what they're like, though. So, yeah, I think everyone would have been, well, a lot of people would have been in the same boat, to be honest. Got off fine. Yeah, on to 2 weeks. Fuck, I'm buzzing.
Now, common sense prevailed.
Weeders is going to be inspirational, I reckon, come next Friday. All-Australian team as well, squad for Weeders.
Yes. Yep.
Yes,
Him,
that's
Cripper,
a good point, Jules.
Charlie.
Yep. All-Australian squad released tonight. Wiedering, Cripps, Curnow. Just while we're on that, Adam Chera and Nick Newman, I think, stiff to miss from our squad. Cripps was a bit of a surprise for me, but he's had a good year. I just didn't think it was AA quality. But yeah, I think Chera and Newman a little bit stiff to miss the 40.
Yeah, for sure. I would have them ahead of Cripps, to be honest.
Do you think Chez's injury cost him?
I mean,
Yes, I think anyone that
Likewise.
cops the injury bug, definitely it gets taken into account.
I mean, what did he miss? 3 in the end?
4?
I think it was 4.
Around 20 we played Collingwood, was it not?
I think he missed.
I think it's
he
4.
missed. I think he missed time early in the year too, didn't he? Anyway, regardless, a little bit stiff.
Yeah.
But Weeders, Charlie, Cripper. Let's hope we see all three with AA Blazers come season's end, because it would be well deserved for all three, regardless. But yeah, Wiedering, Acres. Last 24 hours, a lot of us thought we wouldn't have either, or maybe one. And we got both. So it's massive. It is just massive for week 1, boys, because I think without either of them, it would not that we would have struggled, but it would have made it really, really hard. And I thought Wiedering last night, just while we're on him, I thought he was phenomenal. I ended up getting him in my votes.
Did you?
I can't remember. I may have for a vote, but yeah, he was phenomenal last night.
Are we talking players? Because I want to talk about Voss's presser. Can we talk about that, guys, first?
Yeah, go.
Because did you guys see it? Did you guys listen to it? Jules, you would have listened to it for sure.
I missed it this week.
Didn't you listen to it?
No,
Rarity.
it's probably the first, rarity, to be honest.
When I mean, bloke was calm. Bloke was calmer than calm. He got asked about. Everyone, and I know some people put in the comments there about what do you guys think about playing an elimination final against Sydney? Would you have rather the Dogs? Like what Voss said, who cares? Who cares? Because they're going to bring it, you know? So him hearing, like, they know what their objective is. They know what they're going to bring. They know. So hearing how calm he was in that presser, it made me feel better about that GWS game, even though we knew that, you know, it felt like an exhibition game, didn't it, boys, at one stage? Like, but
The whole
just
second
seeing,
half.
yeah, the whole second half, but just seeing him in that presser, gave me a little bit more peace of mind, I think, as to internally they're all right. There's no fear around what was produced on Sunday night. They're okay, you know?
Yeah. Sounds like as if there was a lot of a sense of stability there in terms of they're all on the same page.
If I'm honest, what it did say to me is that I think he knows what he's going to be going with come our best or come that for first round of finals with squad selection. I think it assured a few things with yesterday. Sorry, that's what it sort of seemed like to me anyway. Especially with like trialing Harry in the ruck, I think it was a straight no. Like, you know what I mean? Those type of things.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I agree with that. Harry in the ruck just didn't quite work. I felt for Harry because he's trying to find a little bit of form after missing some time. And you know, the rest Pitto, he's got a job. He's obviously not a ruckman. He's obviously.
I thought TDK was good.
TDK was great, but I just felt for Harry that he hasn't really had a game out of these two since coming back where he's been able to get some confidence. Like, it would have been nice to see him kick 2 or 3 going into week 1. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll find some touch coming into the game in week 1, but as he gets into it, but yeah, just a little bit disappointing for H. That's all.
I said to both of you, I said that the H's presence in that forward line, and it was clear to see against Gold Coast more so than the friendly played yesterday. But I think H's presence there allows Charlie to do what he does and gives him greater license to be able to do so. I think that's where the importance comes. I think, the message would be to Harry to keep leading, keep doing what you're doing, because the goals will come. But I think if it takes someone off Charlie, then we'll be all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think with Harry, as long like you said, Paysan, as long as he keeps presenting, I have no doubt he's going to be able to work himself into some form. I think his thing, if he kicks one early against Sydney, then he'll be on. Then he'll be confident, like he did. I think it was probably out or whatever 6, 7, 8 weeks ago against who did he play? I think it was Hawthorn. I think he kicked a couple early, and then he was on his merry way. So I have no doubt he'll work himself into it for sure.
As Pommy says, and I'm pretty sure he's watching, form is temporary, class is permanent, and Harry will find that touch of class that we know that he's got in due course, no doubt in my mind. Now, back to the game, just quickly. Probably a good time to bring this in, I think, Jules.
All right. So over the last few weeks, just feel like as if we've been leaking some inside 50s. So just want to give you a bit of insight in terms of some numbers, and then we can have a discussion about it. So what I'll do is I'll go from round 15 to 22 and the inside 50s, and there's sort of one outlier amongst those games. So you've got round 15, 51 inside 50s that we did cop.
Give us the opponent, Jules.
15, that would have been Gold Coast. So
yep.
I don't have the teams, but
should
be all right. So yeah, so 15 Gold Coast, 51. 16 Hawthorn, 48. 42 was Freo, 17. 18 was Port, 62 inside 50s. We copped that game. 19 would have been West Coast, 43 inside 50s. 20 Collingwood, 53. 21 would have been 21.
Pies?
No, that was
After the
so
West
round
Coast
20
game.
was played.
21. Jeez, test my memory. I couldn't. Oh,
Don't
St
you have
Kilda.
it
There you
there,
go.
Joe?
Yeah, Saints.
St Kilda.
Saints. Yeah, Saints. Then round 22 was Gold
Melbourne.
Coast. No, sorry,
Oh,
Melbourne.
Gold Coast.
And
Melbourne.
then
Yep.
yeah, then 23 would have been Gold Coast. And then obviously round 24 was Sydney. Sorry,
The Giants.
the Giants. Confused.
How many
So
inside 50s against?
the last
How many
two
inside 50s
games.
against the Gold Coast?
So Gold Coast 64. Obviously, first quarter I think we conceded 22, so that was the bulk of it. And then obviously against GWS 62 inside 50. So just an area of concern in terms of the amount of inside 50s that we are copying. Obviously, particularly the last couple of weeks, personnel has obviously changed in time. And then you've got to take into consideration the AFL average is 51.4. Okay. And Sydney's as well, just to keep in mind as well. So I know, obviously, I just want to look into the into the future. But Sydney's inside 50s of averaging 54 a game. So obviously they're above the average, and we've obviously conceded 60 plus the last couple of weeks. So obviously, just want to look into.
Do
you consider this week though that just gone?
Yeah, I mean that's a
use
fair
that as an
point.
anomaly?
I think if you leave the Giants game out, because I think we did switch off after the Akers injury. I agree with you on that one, Dan. But what concerns me, right, was how quickly the Giants were scoring, especially in the first quarter. So when the game was still on the line, they went on a 4 or 5 goal run very, very quickly in that second quarter. We found ourselves 5 goals down. The Suns did it to us the week before in the first quarter. We found ourselves 40 points down, and then 3 goals down, and then 3 goals down in the same game. Melbourne was as hotly contested as it gets, and that was one that was as defensive as it gets. So that's probably the best overall performance I think we've given. But even the Saints game, we only conceded 54 points, but like we conceded 40 something of that, or I think it was 46 points of that in the first half. And they seem to be scoring quite easily. Collingwood 76 points as well. So that defensive accountability and that ability to nullify the opposition scoring and keep them to 70 points or under, it feels like it's kind of teetering a little bit. And Giants game aside, it was a good trend. It was a good trend to pick out, Jules, because I felt very, very similar watching it last night. It's the only real concern that I've got at the moment.
Yeah, my thoughts around it is not so much. I mean, I guess it is some defensive, obviously, attributes that we do still need to tinker with. Yeah, correct. But I'm also thinking about the identity and the manner in which we want to play, which is that very much aggressive, powerful brand of football that's territory based. And I think we sort of went away from it a little bit in the last couple of games because that's sort of our one wood. And we were doing that for the other 8-9 rounds previous to that.
Can you?
Is it sorry, Dan? My question within this, right? And this is what I've been trying to work out. So I try and look at what's changed, like for the St Kilda, Gold Coast, and the Giants game, right? And the only thing that I look at is obviously a lot of this defensive accountability starts with the midfield, right? And this is what Voss has spoken about all year, right? We need to be it's a defensive collective. And it starts in the middle. And the only thing that I look at that has changed is the availability of that personnel and the consistency that we're getting from our top tier talent in the midfield week to week. Chera, Walsh, now Cripps has missed time here and there. Like they've all missed
Cripps
games.
was banged up last week as well.
Banged up against the Suns, correct? He didn't have that much
potentially as well because he was out as well.
He's
out.
So is this purely just down to the fact that we haven't been able to get our absolute best on the park in the middle, and maybe the likes of Dow, Fogarty, Cunningham that have been integral to getting us to this point and getting us a final spot and contributing? Is it just a little bit of fatigue on their part trying to carry that burden that the top tiers can tell, that the top tier talent can carry, but maybe they just can't for as long a period? Is this all it might come down to?
Well, I'd mentioned that to you both yesterday regarding your likes of, say, Paddy Dow, for example, with where I felt that once again, and don't get me wrong, from a clearance perspective, and we all saw how effective he was out of a stoppage. Bang, like that's his bread and butter, isn't it? Like he was silky at times. But I'm sorry, if as a fundamental aspect to be able to defend or to tackle, and you don't have that, you're essentially having one man less when you defend as a team, aren't you? So someone's got space, someone's got time to obviously measure a kick inside 50. My other thing, boys, personally, is I think it's continuity within our forward 50 as well, with the likes of now, obviously, Durden coming in, that's another change. Harry coming in the week prior against Gold Coast, it's another change. Like, I think prior to that, we were pretty set on that, you know, that forward line, that forward structure with personnel. So, you know, I think maybe that there's shaken things up a little bit. I think if we can roll with something more consistent with like Mott's, Owies, you know what I mean? Just more consistent players down there might be a lot better, because that our tackles inside forward 50 haven't been the same. We've been getting we haven't produced nowhere near the same amount of numbers, boys. You know?
Yeah, even the week prior, obviously with Fogarty being out as well. So there has been a little bit of changes in there in terms of trying to lock the ball inside forward 50, whether it's our entries as well. We've had, to be fair, yesterday, some of our kicking inside forward 50 was a little bit down. I think Cunnow's had two very, very quick succession that did obviously blow it a little bit as well, which doesn't help.
Especially after half time. I thought first half that was, like you said, Jules, earlier, that was more our identity, and we were getting it deep, and there was a bit of chaos, and we were hitting up targets, and Charlie was leaping at it, and he had space to run into. But especially after half time, that's not what we're going to see in 2 weeks. I don't think we need to be concerned about that. I think that second half was genuinely putting the queue in the rack. It's an anomaly. It was shit. It's not our brand. Voss gave him an almighty spray at 3/4 time. Almighty spray. So whether or not they put the queue in the rack, or whether they were trying to be a little bit conservative with making sure that we got certain players through, I don't think, if we're talking about standards, the way we finished that game were not the standards that we set out. But from a coaching perspective, from a strategy perspective, I can tell you that based on Voss's reaction at 3/4 time.
And that's what I was unsure about. That's why I was eager to see the presser, because seeing that spray at 3/4 time, I was thinking he's not happy, you know. But there must have been something about what we were doing, or something about what they were trying to implement in that game, or in the, you know, the second half of the game, that he wasn't happy about. So yeah, but boys, like, to talk about it again, like, I just think that, like what you said, Joe, that your players like your Fisher, your players like, I don't think Cincotta's in that mold, Joe, if I'm honest. You put him in there with the Durden, Fisher, Dow conversation.
Let's list. There's probably 5 or 6 of them, right? But before we do, just quickly, Order again, as he's doing every week at the moment. He's bankrolling us, and Order, we love you for it, but you're a legend, mate.
He's a gentleman.
Hello to you too, and I know you love the show, but we absolutely love you, and everyone here loves you. We know. We see in the Blue Broad community how much love guys like Order and Damien as well. I just spoke to Damien on Instagram real quick before for a couple of minutes, and he's very, very excited to get to the G in a couple of weeks. And like I said, bring Damien's energy. We cannot lose. But Durden, Fisher, Cincotta, Dow, probably Fogarty to a lesser extent, even Dow to a lesser extent, because he could potentially play as a sub. They're probably 5 names after last night. I think Cincotta plays. I'm with you, Dan. But they're the 5. If you look at 5, and if there's going to be 5 changes with the likes of Cripps, Doc, Pitto potentially coming in, Boyd, they're probably 4, and Kennedy as well on the Pine. There's 5 names that you could look at and go, well, we've got like for likes. Did they do enough against the Giants to lock in a spot for week 1, or are they names that are going to be on the whiteboard that make up our top 30 at the moment, but you can't fit 30 into 23?
Boys, but this is the thing I want to ask you both, is finals is a different kettle of fish, and the intensity that it's played at and what's required as a bare minimum is, you know, Fisher and Dow, for me, they don't have the defensive side that we're looking for. And our identity is to be so resolute defensively. Like, you can see we've built, as you mentioned, Jules, an identity around how hard we are to break down and our pressure and our intensity. Like, you have one or two links in that chain, especially come finals, you're going to get beat.
Yeah, for sure.
This is the best
Paysan.
of the best.
Yeah, for sure, Paysan. I'm just thinking on both sides of the ball, though. And I think our defensive game, along with the defensive aspects of obviously with individual players, obviously helps. But it's our defensive games that part of the game that allows or enables our players like a Fisher, like a Chera, like a Walsh on the outside when he does get on the outside, when Cripps and Doc come back in. It enables them to get on the outside to be able to hit up targets. So, I mean, maybe Fish doesn't bring that side of the game, but he obviously brings something else that we do need as well. You know, like a Boyd does, but I think Fisher does it more because he gets more of the ball off the half.
But how much can you give up, Jules?
I mean, I think you can see even Saad, the way Saad's playing the last probably month, 6 weeks as well. He hasn't been getting, rebound 50s as much as he was first half of the year, even last year as well. His game's changed. He's more of a lockdown. So it's a combination of a lot of different things. Whether Saad does go back to that game, Newman's obviously playing a little bit higher up the park as well. He didn't have the lockdown job on Green, which I probably thought would have happened. It didn't. Potentially, it probably should have, knowing that he did kick 4 on McGovern. I think majority of the game time he did play. So it just depends on the way they want to go about obviously playing, depending on the opposition that we do play. I think Fisher could potentially have a spot. I'm not saying that he will, but I think he could potentially have a spot.
I just saw the move for me, seeing Fisher play forward or half forward, for me, made a big statement that I don't see him in that back 6. Can you boys agree? Or if you don't, tell me. But that move there for me was enough. I think even in possession, we saw that kick in the first, that rush kick where he actually had time to poise himself, and we're shocked because he actually is very good with the ball. Yeah. It just worries me. I think the role players, I've said it for a couple of weeks. Sorry, Joe, but I think the role players now have played their role enough that now you need like the big guns. Like we miss Cripps, plain and simple, massively. We miss Doc.
I think this is spot on from Gav. You can't have players like Fisher or Dow or even Chincotta or Durden. These guys that come in and play a role, they can't be 1 or 2% off, because that's a big 1 or 2% at the bottom end. That the Oppo, if they're 1 or 2% in their bottom 6, a little bit better, they're going to towel us up. And I think Fisher, as good as he's been, as good as he is creatively behind the ball with ball in hand, who said it here? Peter. Fisher, sub, no problem. Inject him late into the game if you need a little bit of creativity, a little bit of pace to try and inject something into the game. Absolutely no problem. I just think Fisher last night probably didn't do himself any favors in that back 6, considering Doherty is still to come back into this side. Marchbank as well, he's fantastic aerially, no problem. I think he lost 50% of his one-on-one battles last night when he came on, and you can't have that. You can't have that in the final. So, that's the final dress rehearsal for a few of those boys prior to week 1. And we've said it for the last few weeks. There's going to be a few that are stiff. I'm sure we're not going to, when we do our predictions for best 22 next week, right, which is what we're going to do in the preseason bye episode that we do, along with a few other things. But I'm sure when we discuss this, boys, and we try and put it on paper, doesn't matter what 22 we come up with, 23 we come up with the sub, I'm sure there's going to be a shock selection that all of us just go, all right. And you know what? It is what it is. You got to back it in. At this point, as supporters, all we can do is just back this in, because the coaching department, match committee, high performance, whoever, the club has got to this point because of the decisions that they've made along the way. And you just got to back it in now and just hope for the best, and hope that they still have that fire in them to go for another 4. Not 1, another 4. That's all we've got. Boys, think about this. 4 more wins, we could be holding up a cup. Like, when you put it into that perspective, it's 4 more wins.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah.
16 quarters. Do you know what I mean? That's all they've got to get right now is 16 quarters. You tick them off, you're holding up the cup in 5 weeks' time.
Can you say it again?
About it,
Joe? Yeah, say it again.
If only it
Everyone's
was that
thinking of it.
easier.
Could be holding the cup. We could be
I know.
holding the cup, boys.
I've held one.
Let's talk about TDK. We've been a bit critical of TDK this year, and I'm happy to put my hand up to say that was definitely his best game for the club. With that said, and this is a two-parter, so we'll talk about TDK first, but then I also want to get into, it was quite clear, it was quite obvious that as good as he was, as a team, I think we're better for it when we've got two rucks available and in the 22. So let's start with TDK, boys. What did you think about his performance? And in your opinion, was it the best game that he has put together for the club in his career so far?
Yeah, 100% his best game. Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, I think it's 100% his best game. I think he's put in a lot of good games over the last 6 to 8 games anyway, to be honest. But this is obviously arguably being his best. I think his tenacity and work rate just to compete. He got his way into the game in terms of hit outs as well, particularly in the center. Possibly not around the ground, probably got a little bit out-bodied in some patches, obviously with a bigger ruckman. But in the center, he was able to out-jump the opposition ruck. So without a shadow of a doubt, but I still think Pito is needed. Whether JSOS is going to be able to get up is a different story, potentially there, and maybe have a little bit of a different approach to the way we do play and a flexibility. But I think Pito's the one to go, and I think he was just rested. And now he's had 2-3 weeks off, and then he'll be able to launch into the Sydney game, no doubt.
I think someone like Pito, you can actually afford to give him a decent amount of rest because you know what is quite consistent. So I think as long as his body's right, then you know what you're going to get from him, which is integral to the way we play. Because what he obviously gives us from a hit out and a stoppage perspective will then set us up to move inside 50. But on TDK, that's for me, Jules. I agree with you. I think his hit outs and being able to win the tap as of late has been for me his biggest improvement. I think, and even kicking that goal, I went the early crow and thought he missed, but he nailed it.
You did.
I did. I was ready to hammer him, but no. From a hit out, from a tap ruckman hit out perspective, I can see his improvement. You turned to me, Jules, and you went, "This guy could be our ruckman for the next 10 years." And you confidently said that, and I definitely agree with you. But I feel like at the moment, to keep helping his growth, we need obviously someone like Pito to give him a bit of a chop out because he can't do it all on his own.
Nah,
he
no
can't.
way. No way.
He's not a wits at this point in time. Don't think he will. I think he'll always need a bit of that sort of reinforcement. So Pito needs to be in the side come round 1 of finals, definitely.
I think if Sauce was fit, Sauce would come straight in over Pito, but he's not.
Purely the way he gets around the ground.
Yeah, and I think Pito is going to play a role. He's going to play a massive role week 1. But yeah, DeConning, we've been critical at times. There's times this year where I've said like he can take the money and run for all I care because he's a highlight reel, and he has been to this point, and I stick by that up until last night. And I think credit where it's due. He's starting to put a few really, really good games together, really impressive games. Still raw. There's still some raw ability there that he needs to be able to harness to become a little bit more effective. But I think last night, being able to hit the scoreboard, the way he got around the ground, he had 6 clearances, 34 hit-outs against Kieran Briggs, who's been arguably one of the better ruckmans this year across the comp, and probably the catalyst for GWS over the last 12 weeks doing what they've been able to do, 9 of 11 wins or whatever it is they strung together. I thought TDK on his own for 80% of the game, really, as the only ruck, was fantastic, and credit where it's due. And let's just hope in 2 weeks' time he can do it again and go even bigger, to be fair.
Look at that for a stat,
yeah.
Joe. Sorry, look at that for a 7. We're 7-2 when TDK and Pito play together.
There you go. It was obvious. Like, I saw it for what it was very, very early on. As good as TDK was on his own, with 2 ruckmen, we are a better side. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because we're so contested and we rely on it so much, and you don't have that fatigue of one ruck. But Pito giving a chop out or TDK giving a chop out to either, it looks it does look so much better.
I just feel they both brings something completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different. TDK is unbelievable around the ground, obviously working on his ruck ability in terms of his tap work. And then you've got Pito, who has the tap work, but then he just competes and he's a bigger body, a bit more mature, smart around the ground in terms of his the ball ups. Yeah, I think they both bring a different type of rucking ability, which obviously helps the team.
Yep. Agree. We've obviously got to speak about Charlie. I'm just wondering whether or not. Oh, actually, here's two names that we hadn't seen for a few weeks. I know we spoke about him a little bit, but Walsh and Chera, boys. What do you think? First game's back.
I'm just
Just
happy
good to get there,
happy they're unscathed, Joe. That was my biggest thing that I wanted out of the game. I said it to you both prior that if we can get them getting through the full game unscathed, then you know what they're going to bring. Their quality. Like you saw it with Walsh, actually. Like, yeah, coming back, he was. I thought he was good for 2 quarters in particular, and then obviously the second half of the game we don't even need to comment on, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like as if it was good to get some K's in their legs, and that's it. I think Voss said it enough in his presser. So to get that under the belt, have another week off now to fully prepare and make sure their bodies are right and go again.
Tell you the other thing I noticed. Like Paddy Cripps against the Gold Coast didn't have a great game. I think he only had 14 touches. But the thing that I noticed because of how easily the Giants midfield got on top of us at times last night, especially out of stoppage, the importance of Cripps, whether he touches the footy once or 30 times in a game, what my eyes didn't see last night were 2 players hanging off one of ours. And that in 2 weeks' time, you bring Patrick Cripps into that centre bounce, he attracts 2 or 3 players and allows Walsh and Chera and Hewitt and Cunningham or Fogarty or whoever's at the stoppage to get out the front and get us going. Because last night we didn't see a lot of that. And it was crystal clear how important Cripper is to making, not to winning us the game off his own boot, right? He, like I said, he doesn't have to touch the ball. It's correct, Gav. The way that he draws players in and the way that he enables the players around him to get into the game. And I think Walsh and Chera, good that they got a game under their belt. I'm so excited to see in 2 weeks' time with Cripps back in the middle next to those 2 at the first centre bounce. I'm telling you, it's TDK. I'll predict it now. It's TDK, it's Cripps, it's Walsh, it's Chera. We're going to win that first centre bounce. It's going straight down Charlie's throat, and he's going to kick a goal in front of 95,000 to lift the roof off the joint within the first 30 seconds. I promise you. It's the only thing I could think about watching our centre bounce work last night was just give me Paddy Cripps back, because these 2, with him next to them,
forget about it.
Boys. I'm getting goosebumps. All right, Charlie, back-to-back Commons, making history. This guy, let's not understate this or underplay this. He missed over 2 years of footy. There was talk that he'd never ever reach his potential and that he would never even get. Jules, you said on the podcast a lot, he might only get back to 80%, but that's what we need. He's gone to 120% of what we thought his ceiling was going to be. This guy is a freak. There's no other way to put it. He is a freak. We went into the game a little bit worried he might not win the Coleman outright. He did it in 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
All right. And then basically just sat on the pint for the rest of the game.
Whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
To be honest,
he wouldn't have played
really
last night. He wouldn't have played
that.
He wouldn't have played last night if he had it locked up. There's no way.
Am I wrong?
But he's phenomenal, boys. What is there more to say about this bloke?
Am I wrong in saying it's the biggest tally in home and away season since like 2016 or something?
That's correct.
Pretty sure I saw that. Yeah, since 2016.
Yeah. He does things to me that no one else can. I'll tell you that much. He, I think, what?
He does things to you that no one else can. So,
it's good. He's a special boy. So I just think he has so much more to give, to be honest with you. Not so much inside forward 50, but just around the grounds. I think his potential, I don't think he's lived up to it yet. I reckon that's how good this guy can be. He's a freak of nature.
Are we saying Brownlow?
You've said it.
Look, you said it last night. I wouldn't put it
Money on
past him. I think he has that kind of X factor to be able to play higher up the ground. I'm not saying predominantly 60, 70% of the game, but more of a 40, 50. I reckon you could do it for sure.
Boys, the way I see it is next year, if Charlie's kicking, because obviously he's playing higher up the ground now, yeah? If Charlie's kicking 2-3 goals a game and getting 18, 20 touches, he's getting votes every game.
Yeah.
From a Brownlow perspective.
Yeah.
As the way we're structured now and the way he's playing, with the impact that he's having on his own, why would it not be a possibility he could win a Brownlow?
No, I think he can. I think he can.
He's the best player in the comp right now.
Yeah. Let's forget a Brownlow for now. Josh asks here, can he kick 100 goals? I'll tell you what.
Yes.
We've got 4 games left. He needs 22. So it's about 5 goals a game from here.
Kick 10 against the Swans?
Yep. But could you imagine? Just imagine,
10 against
right?
the Pies.
Imagine we somehow make it to a granny. He's lining up for his 100th. Never ever happened before. The scenes would be the game wouldn't restart. You wouldn't be able to get people off the ground.
No, no chance.
It'd be the longest grand final ever. But anyway, he is a superstar, Charlie, and we are the 94,500 of us that are signed up are just eternally grateful that in the 2015 draft we picked Charlie Curnow at pick 13, and there was no looking back. No one touched him before that. Every club, every recruiter that went, nah, too many issues. You know what? Thanks.
I've got a question for you. Outside of Charlie, who do you think is primed for finals? Like, he's just that finals player.
Newey.
That's a good shout. It's Cripper for me, man. Can't go past it. Anyone that's got doubts about after last night, right? About, is the intent there? Have they dropped off? Did they peak too early? Blah, blah, blah. Don't forget Paddy Cripps, Sam Doherty, Sam Walsh, Harry Mackay, Charlie Curnow, Jacob Wiedering, Brody Kemp. I could keep going. There's a long list. None of them have ever played a final. They have had to wait up to 10 years, some of these boys. And Cripps has played 180 games that he's had to wait. You're kidding yourself if you don't think that they're going to line up in 2 weeks, chomping at the bit to give absolutely everything to win this elimination final. Kidding yourself.
There's going to be a lot of G'd boys, to tell you that much. There's actually a lot of players that come to mind that you just know come finals, they're going to be charged.
Off topic, do you think us as supporters are going to get that 7 Nation Army thing right? Do you reckon we're going to nail that?
Fell a little bit flat, but
yeah, I reckon only 10 people in the stadium knew it.
If they keep doing it every week, it'll catch on eventually.
Yeah.
Needs consistency.
Consistency. Very good, Jules. All right. We're not going to do any Blues Qs this week. There's no point. Straight into the votes.
There goes the consistency.
Who's taking it? It's a good boy for you. You can start.
I'll start then. So Walsh, pretty easy. I think he had 28 touches. I don't know how many score enrollments, but obviously good to have him back. Moved freely. I think he died, alongside the whole team really in the second half, but you can really see that he was obviously having the run. He's going to be better for it. Charlie, mate, what a player. 3 goals within the space of 12, 14 minutes, something ridiculous. And then just put the cue in the rack, sat on the pint for the rest of the game, pretty much. I'm eager to see what he can do come finals. And then TDK, obviously, like we said before, best game for the club. I think it's just a well-balanced game in terms of the way he competed across the ground, in the ruck, took a few marks, kicked the goal as well, and just the way he was shepherding others as well around the stoppage. So, yeah, I think TDK had a real big game and obviously deserves the 3 votes.
Yep. In this exhibition match yesterday, I'm just going for people that. Well, listen, Jules, you explained TDK and Charlie. Obviously, I put Charlie for 3, TDK for 2, but always is the guy that just gets his job done. I just went for players that did their job yesterday, plain and simple. And I feel like always is that guy. Voss went up to him and go, listen, man, just go about 70, 80%. He's going, fuck you. No. I'm just going to keep going 100. Like they're yelling at him. They're yelling at him to stop, like with that intensity. Because I feel like what he offers, he's a sharpshooter. What's he kick, Joe? 24 and 6 or something from set. What?
No,
what's
he's
stat?
set shot. He's set shot kicking something stupid. I don't know the stat off the top of my head, but he doesn't.
He told
miss.
me yesterday.
He doesn't.
He doesn't miss anyway. Regardless, he doesn't miss. So for me, he did his job. He kicked 2. I thought he was great. He's always involved. He's always there when we need him. He pops up with a goal when we need it. And his passion's next level for the club and to win. So that's why he's my 1. And like Jules said, for the 2 others. Go, Joe.
It's funny with Owies, right? You forget that he was a Category B rookie. Comes from a basketball background, and he's probably our best set shot. And that is usually the case. It's funny how it works because it's usually the case in footy. When you go take someone from another sport that's not never kicked a footy, but hasn't been taught the bad habits, they usually become phenomenal kicks. And Matt Owies right now is our most I'll put it to you this way. If there's a shot after the siren, 40 meters out, 30 meters out, slide angle, I'm not taking Charlie Curnow. I'm taking Matt Owies because he does not miss. He genuinely doesn't.
I need to say one other thing about Owies is if you look at the way he works inside 50, where he gets his set shots from, he's so smart. He's not taking really his shots from an angle. He's in front or he's on a slight angle, but he's just very smart with his leading patterns and what he does inside 50. That's why he is so accurate because of where he takes his set shots. He's such a smart footballer.
Yeah, I had Wieders. I had the same 2 for 2 and 3, but I had Wieders for a vote. I thought Wiedering last night was it was a captain's performance, the way that he stood up. Like someone from the GWS cheer squad touches him in the second quarter, I think it was, whenever it was. Doesn't faze him, moves on. He's got, this eye gouge thing that's probably hanging over his head a little bit throughout the rest of that game, moves on. Just led the intercept possessions like he does every week, kept Hogan quiet. I think he only kicked 1, and just led from the back all game in a pretty tough game. How many inside 50s did we concede, Jules? 60-something, 63?
64, I think it was.
Yeah, he was huge. And I thought he deserved the plaudits last night, and at least a vote. And hopefully lining up for his first All-Australian Blazer in a few weeks' time. He is one that in a final series, Jules, I think we're going to look to go saved us the game at some point. He will save us a game. Leaderboard. Now, we're not done with the votes this year, boys, because the season's not done. But Charlie Curnow has made this very, very interesting. Adam Chera, for context, was out front by about 25 votes at one point here. And Charlie's just gone, no, I want the salami at open training. You can take a seat, Ches. And he's made it very interesting. So his first final...
Just about the salami. Are we going to have anything left? Because I'm just churning through them.
I got heaps. I don't eat it that quickly. I'd savor it. I'll savor it for that reason, Jules. Now, one other player before we get to Libby that we haven't spoken about. You asked who's going to break open a final series, Jules. He was quiet yesterday, but I guarantee in 2 weeks' time, Jack Martin is going to have a game. He's going to have a game.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a finals
How we
player?
Got bring him up and not in the comments.
Yeah. You want to talk about a finals player? He doesn't stay quiet 2 games in a row. That's all I'm going to say. He's going to have a
quiet
game
for a reason. He stayed quiet for a reason.
He knew. Last night meant nothing. It's all about 2 weeks on. Yeah. All right. Libby's last word.
Hey everybody, it's Libby with Libby's last words, and this is what I thought about the game. Well, it was a bit sad. We lost our winning streak, but it's the last game of the season. We're playing finals, everybody. First time I say this on the podcast. First time I ever get to watch the boys play in the finals, and I'm excited. But, it was good to see Charlie winning the Coleman medalist. I was actually really surprised he was losing. Like, because Adelaide Crows had a very easy win against the Crows. So Taylor Walker scored 9. So I was a bit worried, but I knew Charlie would get those 2 goals. And he did in the first quarter, which was probably good that he got it in that first quarter. But anyways, the boys played pretty crap in the fourth quarter. I mean, we did all right. You know, the boys always played good. You know, Sardi did give it his all, and the defenders did play very well. But, you know, I must say GWS goal kicking is pretty much on point. They're very good. But, you know, I'm very happy the boys are playing finals this year. First time I ever get to watch the boys play finals. I'm excited. I can't wait. I just can't. I'm so nervous at the same time and excited that I get to see the Navy Blues play finals. And I'm still excited, Charlie. Charlie won the Coleman medalist. Back to back, baby. Back to back. Charlie Curnow is amazing. But anyways, our pressure was good. First quarter, you know, it was a very close game, the whole game. And it was a pretty nerve-wracking game. But, you know, well, anyways, the boys did play pretty well in the first and second quarter. But we kind of lost our momentum in the last and third quarter, but that's okay. I'm proud of the boys for making the finals this year. I honestly had no hope in them at the start of the year, but yep. Anyways, that's what I thought about the pretty sad but then exciting game for Charlie. Back-to-back Coleman medalist. Anyways, that's what I thought about the game. Go the Blues!
So it's time for Libby.
It's time. You're right. This is I'm
She down?
so
No.
stoked.
No. Fire
She's
out,
not
mate.
coming?
It's going to be...
Nah, when we make the granny, we'll see if we can get her down. We'll see.
Yeah, I like that. No preview, obviously. So that's it. Not quite. Not quite.
End it on this.
Keep calm. Count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10.
Not happy, Jan!
Well, you guys know what I'm going to talk about. I sort of gave a little not happy, Dan, at the start about the supporters leaving early, but this is a different one. To the bloke... Why are you laughing, Joe?
Because I'm picturing it. It was funny. It was very good.
To the bloke on the end of our aisle or our row, Jules. Now, I'm sorry. Fair enough if we'd been moving 4,000 times in one game. But to the bloke that kept getting pissed off every time someone had to leave the row, next time, buddy, stay home. If you don't want to go to the football and you're expecting no one to tell you to stand up so they can go to the toilet or go get a beer or go get some food, man, you're better off watching at home because your facial expression and the way you're acting either cut it or we're gonna.
Yeah, he needed more.
We're
He
gonna
needed
cut
more of Dame. He needed more of Damo's energy. That bloke. Bit of
You
happiness
remember
about
his
him.
look? He was
remember.
disgusted.
I know.
Like
44,000 people there.
were
What did he
hindering his
expect?
view.
What did
Huh?
he expect? He's just gonna 44,000 people there. What do you expect? He's gonna sit in his seat all game,
I was-
not be
I was gonna do this, Joe. Oh, sorry. Hold on, sir. I'll just jump over you. Let me do a run up and
Yeah.
I'll jump over you. So you don't have to move.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my not happy.
That's-
Next time, stay home, buddy.
You weren't happy. You actually weren't happy.
Oh, well,
But-
the game was so bad.
With-
The game was so bad. I ended up watching him more than I did the game.
Yeah, you weren't happy, but I'll tell you what. On this podcast, we are happy, boys. Happy, and everyone here that's been with us live tonight, we're all happy because in 2 weeks' time, 2 Fridays' time, 7:50 Friday Night Lights, MCG, Sydney Swans, elimination final. Doesn't get any bigger, boys. It just doesn't.
I know what I'm gonna be doing, and I recommend everyone start doing this. Go and watch your favorite games from this year, and just start G'ing up. That latest one against Collingwood, Joe, prepare a coffee. I'm gonna come watch it tomorrow with you.
Yeah,
You
if
know where
want,
it all
whatever.
starts, boys?
Go, Jules.
Starts at the postie pre-game.
Ah,
Yeah.
you're welcome. You're welcome. I thought
Thanks,
ahead.
Bella.
For anyone watching that hasn't already, if you're going to the game and you want to get a beer before the game in Richmond or a feed or whatever, book now. We're going to be at the Postie from 5:45, which is just across the road from the corner. The corner hotel is booked. You can't get a seat. There are not many pubs left in Richmond where you can get a seat prior to the game. If you're going prior to the game, get in now. Otherwise, you're going to miss out. Anyway, you're welcome, boys. I do everything for these two, and I would
Oh,
do
thanks,
anything
Joe.
for you two. No, I would.
Thanks,
I
PA.
would. I do
Thanks,
it.
mate.
I just do it out of the kindness of my heart. That's the person that I am. For everyone that joined us tonight, yes, Gav. Next week we will review the best of the season, and it's basically just going to be the best of the last 10 weeks, really. But yes, until next Sunday, back on a Sunday next week. Don't forget. Until then, up the baggers.
Up the burgers.
Baggers.